My name is Tamara. I'm sitting at my desk, reviewing Q3 projections, when my phone lights up with a number I've never deleted. It's my mother. I let it ring. An hour later, she calls again. Then, my father calls from his number, which hardly ever happens as he's always let my mother handle emotional stuff. It feels like a rehearsed script. I call her back that evening from my condo, standing by the kitchen window looking at the trees I specifically chose for this view. Her voice sounds older. She tells me that my sister, Lily, moved across the country 2 years ago for a relationship that has since fallen apart and she hasn't returned. My father has developed a heart condition that needs continuous care, and the house is in serious financial trouble again. They're facing foreclosure within 90 days. She asks if I can help. I pause, not for drama or calculation, just to find the truth within myself before speaking. I ask her if she remembers who saved the house the first time. The silence on her end lasts longer than mine. I tell her I'll think about it and need a week. What I don't tell her is that I've already made my decision. It's not about the money anymore, it's about what I'm willing to take on and what I'm finally ready to let go. 9 years ago, I was 26. I was working as a patient care coordinator at the hospital, and after a 12-hour shift, I came home to find my key wouldn't turn in the lock. I tried twice, then 3 times. I stepped back and stared at the door as if it had personally insulted me, and looking back, it kind of had. The lock was new and shiny, the kind you buy same day at a hardware store when you don't want to overthink a decision. I knocked, and my mother answered. Her face wasn't surprised, it was more like she had rehearsed a calm expression. She told me that Lily was going through a tough time and needed stability. They'd discussed it as a family, as if I hadn't been part of that family for 26 years. They thought it'd be better if I found my own place for a while until Lily got back on her feet. I stood there on the porch, my work lanyard still around my neck and my hospital ID swinging against my chest. I asked her who had been paying the mortgage for the past 14 months. Her rehearsed calm wavered for a second, then she said Lily really needed them right now. The unspoken truth was clear. The money I'd been quietly transferring every month for 14 months didn't matter. The vacations I'd skipped and the savings goals I'd put off didn't matter. Because Lily was crying inside that house, and when Lily cried, everything else became insignificant. Let me tell you about what led to those 14 months of mortgage payments. My father, who had worked at the same factory for 20 years, was laid off. The year before, my mother had a serious health scare, and they'd used up most of their savings. They were 4 months behind on the mortgage. They didn't come to me first, they went to Lily. But Lily called me in a panic, saying she didn't know what to do. She had no savings, no stable income, and a lifestyle that required a lot of upkeep. She always made everything about herself, even when it was about our parents losing their house. So, I stepped in. I did the math, made the calls, and set up automatic transfers. I never asked for a thank you, never expected repayment on a specific schedule, and never brought it up at the dinner table or used it as leverage in an argument. To me, it was about family. I believed in the word family like some people believe in something sacred. But there I was, locked out, still wearing my hospital badge, being told my presence in the home I'd supported was no longer welcome. I didn't yell or cry right then. I took a long breath and looked at my mother and said, "Okay." She looked relieved. That look stayed with me on the drive to my friend Ava's apartment. I slept on Ava's couch for 3 nights before I could think clearly enough to make a plan. It wasn't the locked door, the words she said, or the 14 months of sacrifice that stung the most. It was her relieved look, like I was a problem that had just solved itself. Sitting in my car outside a stranger's neighborhood, I made a silent promise to myself. I was going to build something so strong and undeniable that one day, they'd look at me and remember who they locked out in the dark. I had no idea it would take 9 years, and I had no idea what would make them finally call. The 9 years that followed were far from easy. I grieved for the family I thought I had and the mother I believed would always choose me when it mattered. I cried in Ava's bathroom with the shower running so she wouldn't hear me. The next morning, I went to work with concealer under my eyes and a smile I had to piece together. Grief doesn't always come with a funeral. Sometimes, it just sits in the passenger seat on your way to a job that reminds you of all you've sacrificed for people who changed the locks. But I kept moving forward. It was the only thing I knew how to do. I found a small one-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor, 20 minutes from the hospital. The radiator clicked all winter, and the window faced a brick wall. But it was mine. I paid the rent with my hard-earned money, in a place where no one could decide my presence was inconvenient without my knowledge. I painted the bedroom a deep navy blue and bought a plant, which I managed to keep alive. These small victories meant the world to me. At work, I started to push myself harder. I'd always been a competent and reliable employee, showing up early and staying late without being asked. But I'd never been very ambitious because I wasn't sure I deserved more. The locked door changed me, slowly but surely. I started volunteering for projects outside my department, took 2 online certifications in healthcare administration, and introduced myself to people in rooms where I'd previously just stood quietly. Within 2 years, I was promoted to operations supervisor. 4 years later, I was managing a team of 25 people across 2 hospital wings. 6 years later, I was sitting in a director-level meeting, giving my clear and unapologetic opinion on a budget restructure, and they implemented it. Outside of work, I was building a life of my own. Ava remained my closest friend. I met a woman named Iris through a running group. She was quiet and steady, with her own complicated family history. She understood why I sometimes went silent on certain holidays without me having to explain. We became close over time, through small moments rather than grand gestures. I also built a solid financial foundation. I saved money, made investments, and at 32, I bought a condo on my own, with my name alone on the deed. I stared at that deed for a long time the day I signed it. I hadn't spoken to my parents in all these years. No birthday texts, no holiday cards. It wasn't out of anger. I just decided that the relationship as it was wasn't worth continuing, and I saw no evidence that things had changed. Lily reached out once, about 2 years after I was locked out. Her message was full of carefully chosen words and strategic vagueness. I read it but didn't respond. Some doors, once you understand why they're closed, don't need to be reopened. Now, as I stand by the kitchen window, looking at the trees, I know that 9 years have taught me a valuable lesson. Saving people who don't understand the cost of being saved isn't generosity, it's a pattern. I broke that pattern once on that porch with a new lock and a swinging hospital badge. This time, I'm going to do things differently. Every term will be mine. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever given everything and still been shut out, you're not alone. You're exactly who this channel is for. Subscribe to Frost Family Stories.